10 most powerful armies in Africa. During different festivals, every country in the globe proudly displays its troops in front of the president and its citizens. When a nation is threatened, you may expect to hear it threaten to declare war, and if the threat persists, the country deploys its formidable troops to the area that presents a danger to the country. Militaries throughout the globe, on the other hand, have varying strengths. Probably just noting that you've already rated some of the world's most potent forces after hearing about armies in the world and their powers. Had countries like the US Army, China, Russia, North Korea, and even the Israeli Army cross your mind, ranking them unknowingly. True to that, these nations boast the world's most powerful militaries in the world. These armies have been classified based on the amount of intricacy and armoury they have, and fighter jets, tanks, and combat tactics. Narrowing that down to one of the largest continents in the world, Africa, what are the strongest armies? That is all this video is going to look into. Hello and welcome to today's video, which will be talking about the 10 most powerful armies in Africa. But before we start, take a second to subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Turn on the post notification bell so that you won't miss any future videos. Like, comment, and share. Without further ado, let's get started. Before we go on and list these armies according to their strengths, let's get down to the facts that will be considered when listing the troops to determine their power. Over 50 different characteristics are used to assess the countries, spanning from military force and finances to logistical competence and geography. However, the ranking does not just depend on a country's overall quantity of weapons. Instead, it considers weapon variety within those totals to create a better chance of firepower available. Nuclear weapons are not explicitly recognized, though they earn an indirect score advantage. At the same time, geographical variables, logistical flexibility, natural resources, and military budget all impact the rankings. The parameters required to determine an army's strength are as follows: human resources, total populations, available personnel, fit for service workforce, yearly workforce attaining military age, active military force, and dynamic reserve military workforce are all factors to consider in this parameter. Air power. Fighters and interceptors, attack aircraft, transporters, trainers, total helicopters, attack helicopters, and functional airports make up the whole aircraft strength. Army strength. Tanks, armored combat vehicles, self-propelled artillery, towed artillery, and rocket projectors are all examples of self-propelled artillery. Naval power. Aircraft carriers, frigates, destroyers, corvettes, submarines, patrol ships, and mine warfare make up the whole naval power. Financial resources. Annual defense budget, external debt, reserves of foreign exchange and gold, and purchasing power parity. Logistical resources. Strength of the labor force, merchant marine strength, essential ports and terminals, highway coverage, and railway coverage are all factors to consider. Natural resources. Oil production, oil consumption, and proven oil reserves. Geography. Square land areas, coastline, shared borders, and waterway coverage. Having reached that point, let's get to the business of the day and see how the armies have been ranked from the least powerful to the most powerful. Stick to the very last minute so that you know the strongest army in Africa. Number 1. Libya. Despite having a modest number of active personnel, Libya's military is vital due to its massive stockpile of weaponry. Libya's capabilities are further hampered by the ongoing violence and unrest arising from the 2011 revolution. It has yet to produce a stable administration. Regardless, the government possesses 2,500 armored combat vehicles, 500 tanks, 600 towed artillery pieces, 6,500 logistical vehicles, and much more at its disposal. General Haftar seems to be the country's strongman, and he may have won the civil war in 2018, liberating Libya and restoring order in the country. Number 2. Angola. In 1991, the Angolan Armed Forces took over from the Armed Forces of the Liberation of Angola, led by the Chief of Staff, Geraldo Nunda. The Army, Navy, and Air Force are the main components of the army. Angola's military operation in Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau was contentious, notably when the 2012 Guinea-Bissau coup d'etat claimed Angola's military deployment as a primary motive for the rebellion. The FAA possesses 920 armored battle vehicles, 140 tanks, 270 planes, and 56 vessels. Fighting had erupted in the Angolan province of Cabinda involving Angolan forces. Petroplus overseas and its French head Vincent Michelet has considerable power in Angola, according to the latest book of Pierre Pin. Angola has one of the strongest armies on the continent because of funds produced from oil sales and Petroplus overseas dividends to the government. Number 3. Tunisia. 3 mechanized brigades, 1 Saharan territorial group, 1 special force group, and 1 military police regiment make up the Tunisian armed forces. They have participated in peacekeeping operations, particularly during the Rwandan genocide, and have been driven into border skirmishes with Libyan rebels during the civil war in 2011. They have 900 armored battle vehicles, 350 tanks, a workforce of nearly 5 million, 139 aircraft, and 50 ships. Tunisia has lately established a stable administration and reduced the danger posed by ISIS along its eastern border. Its military forces are modest in size, yet influential. These troops have continued to ensure peace and order in the country, saving people a lot of trouble. Number 4. Morocco. The Royal Moroccan Armed Forces have been engaged in the struggle with Polisario, a liberation movement fighting for the independence of Western Sahara, and are heavily reliant on foreign weaponry. They take part in various peacekeeping operations, including one in Somalia. The military has 2,120 armored combat vehicles, 1,348 tanks, 323 total aircraft, and 121 total navy ships at its disposal. However, Morocco is presently dealing with violent riots in the RIF area, and its mighty army cannot intervene. Number 5. Kenya. Kenya has established itself as a key player in international peacekeeping efforts because of its strong merchant navy and large labor population, which results in a large pool of available manpower. Though it lacks most of its equipment, Kenya's military participation in multinational teams enables it to share resources with other nations whilst also boosting its capabilities. Kenya has also established itself as one of the most robust democracies alongside South Africa. Kenya's military forces have a bright future thanks to the excellent leadership from the country's political authorities. The army drastically decreased Al-Shabaabs in Somalia, allowing Kenyans to live in increased protection. Number 6. Nigeria. The Nigerian Armed Forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force are expected to number in the hundreds of thousands due to the country's vastness. Like Algeria's, an abundant domestic oil supply reduces the financial cost of armed warfare. Nigeria possesses around 1,400 armored vehicles, 360 tanks, 6,000 logistical vehicles, almost 300 aircraft, and 25 high-powered navy ships at its disposal. However, this powerful army has proved inadequate in protecting northern Nigerians from Boko Haram. The army, however, seems to be well prepared for conventional assaults, but not so much for asymmetrical warfare against rebels. Number 7. South Africa. South Africa employs its highly sophisticated military for peacekeeping and international collaboration since it hasn't been involved in a global military confrontation in a long time. Its planes and naval boats are well known for being well equipped with cutting-edge technology, and despite having less than 100,000 active frontline people, the nation has the capability and manpower to do much more. Thanks to a massive variety of ground system technologies, the South African military is a force to be reckoned with. Number 8. Ethiopia. Being a landlocked nation, Ethiopia has spent significant money establishing its army and air force. The GFP does not punish landlocked countries for not having a naval power. Its present strength is in the hundreds of thousands, and it has a large number of land and air assets at its disposal. Ethiopia's massive population enables it to sustain a significant combat force, making it one of the continent's most powerful military. On the other hand, the army is having trouble suppressing popular uprisings around the nation that have devolved into local militias. The army does not seem to be equipped for asymmetrical combat. Number 9. Algeria. Due to its extensive maritime border, Algeria has developed all of its military capabilities to a highly sophisticated level, including its land, sea, and air forces. Algeria has more than 127,000 soldiers on the front lines and over 2,000 armored battle vehicles at its disposal. Algeria also has its own oil deposits, enabling it to power tanks, aircraft carriers, navy boats, and other equipment with its fuel. However, in Algeria, a lack of leadership may make defining objectives for its formidable army difficult. Algeria's army is the only force capable of successfully combating Islamic forces that almost took over the country after independence. Number 10. Egypt. This is the strongest top-ranked military force. Egypt's military might put it ahead of the pack in terms of military might, owing to the sheer magnitude of its armed forces. Its active frontline army numbers around 500,000 people, vastly outnumbering its African equivalents. It has over 10,000 armored war vehicles, 60,000 logistics vehicles, 900 aircraft, and vast oil reserves. Following the Egyptian revolution, the military was significantly weakened, but after the Tomarod coup, it was more vital than ever. The army controls the nation, with Morsi in prison and Sisi in power. The Egyptian military is fighting Libya's civil war, ostensibly supporting General Haftar. Most critically, Egyptian soldiers fight Daesh elements in the Sinai Peninsula in a complete conflict. When it comes to dismantling ISIS and Hamas cells in the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt's army seems ineffective. In 2016 and 2017, the army sustained significant casualties in Sinai. Several African nations may have more soldiers than those listed below, yet they may still have outdated equipment, weak logistics, and utility equipment. Africa's most strong armies ranking demonstrates how far the region has progressed in the military workforce. Radical organizations and rebels in several nations are threatening to attack them. Egypt has always been at the forefront of the conflict. The United States Army, which has led the world in military strength since 1945, is followed by Russia, China, India, and the United Kingdom. Although the continent has not yet achieved such a high position, most governments are doing all possible to safeguard their inhabitants. Reaching that point brings us to the end of today's video. Don't hesitate to smash the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and explore the channel for even more content related to Africa. Don't forget the post notification bell, turn it on so that you'll get future video updates. Until the next one, stay safe.